Hey guys, so today I want to talk about how to start and scale a six-figure Pokemon card business in 2025. Now, I feel like the game has changed quite a bit since I first started in 2019, 2020, and since then I've made maybe over $250,000-$300,000 worth of sales in Pokemon cards, and of course I know that's not crazy, but I feel like I've learned quite a bit and I've seen a lot of things now with a lot of growth, obviously with the boom in 2024, 2025 that I'd like to talk about to you guys especially if you're starting a new business in 2025 or if you're still growing like most of us. There's lots to learn. We can learn from each other. And also because recently I've been just making videos about the problems, the problems and just how horrible everything is. So I just wanted to make like a roadmap basically for those who are trying to start a business and explain the problems but also give the solutions. So let's first and foremost we gotta talk about distributors, because obviously everyone who's thinking about starting a Pokemon card business, first they think to English. There's Japanese as well, but that's like a totally different thing to get into in another video. The main thing people think about is English. Where do you get your supply? Distributors. Now there's two routes you can basically go. You can go through the building your platform and buying off of the community, buying off Facebook, buying off eBay, buying off the second-hand market, and either doing your investments and hoping they pay off. But that's what I like to do. But I also like to run a business because a business needs cash flow, which is why that doesn't really work. And you can try and do that and try to flip the stuff, but again, it's not reliable. Now, there's another like way out there method that I still don't see too popular because I guess it's not too reliable. It's buying raw cards, grading them, and selling them, because I haven't seen an English card business that just does graded cards yet. There's probably one out there, maybe even a big one. I just haven't seen it, but it's just not a big market, and probably you could break into it because it's probably not that saturated, but I just don't know where the demand is, if it's actually there. But it is a viable business model to put together with with the main business model of buying from distributors. Now, especially if you just look at like most stores, they're successful from putting all three together: grading cards, buying off of the people coming in and selling, and also mainly from distributors, right? And so let's talk about distributors, because that's obviously the main problem. It's changed a lot since before the pandemic when I got in, because back then it was hard. It was hard, and now it's even harder. One of the biggest distributors in Canada, when I tried to get an account, it took 2 years of constant emailing, and it's extremely annoying to them, but eventually they gave an account. And that's because I was an online store, and pretty bad online store at that. Didn't even have my own site, just had an eBay store and just kept on pushing. That's one way to butt yourself in. And the other one, I just walked in, and after a lot of chatting, a couple of visits, they somehow gave an account. Now that might seem super easy, and that's why I'm saying the game has changed. Right now, you don't walk into a distributor's warehouse, their office, and just say, hey, get me an account. Especially because the demand is crazy right now. Even older accounts, they may treat you not very well if you don't have a high spend with them. So having an account doesn't even guarantee you much product. Now getting an account is even more difficult. Obviously, we all know how crazy the market is, so that's why it's so difficult. Now, what is the solution I'm proposing for a new business in 2025? Well, for you trying to get a distributor, it's honestly the best answer is just play the long game. The market's gonna slow eventually. I'm predicting within the next year or so, but I could be wrong. Could be sooner, could be later. And I would just say play the long game, because it's not worth it to open a brick and mortar store with all that overhead, all that risk, unless you have previous business experience and you're confident. Because I do have a couple ideas of how even a new person can make a brick and mortar store work that I hopefully am able to implement. But just if you have no idea what you're doing and you're completely new, you probably shouldn't do it. You should start your online store. I'm telling you, start with Facebook, start with eBay, because you don't gotta be professional when you start off. You just need to get in the water, just get your feet in the water and do some small local deals, maybe go to some card shows, do a little wheeling and dealing, try to make some flips and profits, because you don't gotta be professional, cash flow, repeat customers right when you start out. Then you can build your site, because working on your site is going to be a very valuable asset, and I'll get to that later on in the video, but it's very valuable. And once it gets slow, within a year or two, when the distributors get desperate for customers because they're taking all the product from Pokemon and they gotta move their inventory, that's when online stores can slide in. That's when they start to open up to online stores, and it is very possible. Just because the market's crazy now doesn't mean it'll be crazy forever. So I'm telling you, start building now, start building some repeat customers, start building some connections, and start gaining some experience, and start with that site, and you'll be ready within a year or two. It's a long game. It's not a get rich quick scheme. Next, we need to talk about a reliable way to get market and customers cost effectively, of course. And that's one big thing that will go into getting your own site and making it successful. Now, the reason why this is a tough thing in 2025 is because everything is online. That's what we're gonna get to next. But when you're trying to run it online, you need to be able to get those repeat customers, and you need to build trust with your customers. Now, this can be doing social media. Maybe you do some shorts, expand your reach, long form content, whatever you do. Maybe that's a way you build trust. Maybe you're a physical store and you're hosting community events, like just some charitable events, trade nights, even like just giving back to the community in like a fun way on a night, like where everyone gets together. Build strength in the community. That's when you can build those customers that return to you even when it's slow. Those true, genuine fans that aren't in it for the money necessarily, but for the collection, that they'll be with you, supporting your store even while it's slow. Now, I personally have struggled with this, even now, because repeat customers are hard to build, especially when you have no idea what you're doing, like I had no idea. So I would really suggest just starting your own social media, whatever you do, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok's probably a really great way right now. Make some short form content. It's easier to go viral, and you can build a community at the same time. And this will be extremely important, and there's other ways too. For example, like if you maybe host like events or different ways where you can get the community engaged and know your name and remember your name. That's going to be extremely important with the online store. Now, next, you need to be able to have an online presence. This is what I'm saying, because this is the next point, because I want to address firstly brick and mortar stores. Brick and mortar stores, a lot of people are saying they're struggling now because everything's moving online. We got Amazon, Shopify, these big guys that are really pushing online sales, right? And you see big companies, department stores closing maybe, and a lot of even brick and mortar stores for Pokemon were struggling, especially in the slow times, because you gotta pay rent, you gotta pay staff, and no one's coming to buy the cardboard when the market's not hot. And so I personally think that brick and mortar is still viable, and I one day do want to open a brick and mortar store, hopefully soon. And I have my own strategies, my own plans for that we can share in another video. But you definitely want to start with online first, because less capital, and it's easier to expand, and less risk, and it's easy to scale back and all that. But there's more to address with this, having an online presence, because there's another way, I think, that's not being online. It's card shows, because a lot of vendors just show up to card shows and they do like 50,000-60,000 or more in that day and in that weekend, and they go to the next card show. That is a viable method. You could do this, you just need to have a lot of capital, and so that's why I just don't think it applies to most people, because you're paying for the table, you're spending the time there, so you gotta have a lot of inventory, and then you gotta be experienced for that stuff. That's why I'm still suggesting an online presence. And now that's why, the main online presence you would have would be your own store, like probably your own website. But I do want to address the the other possibility, which is rip and ships, because we all have heard about like Whatnot, Drip Ship Live or whatever. They're all online they're all online like rip and ship platforms where you interact with the customers live. And especially with how big streaming has gotten in this day and age, in 2025, it is a pretty viable business model to do rip and ships. The only real downside is that you need an employee, you need someone that is like even yourself, but you have to be charismatic on camera, you got to be talking to them, you can't scam people. You shouldn't be scamming people either way, but like, your reputation go down the drain fast, even if it's not even you, if it's one of your employees screwing up. So that's why it's kind of risky, and it's not for everyone, because anyone can sit behind a screen, run the Shopify store, run the eBay store, make those sales, pack and ship the orders. But not everyone is charismatic on camera, but that is a viable method for you if that's you. And I suggest you start, because if it's you, you will succeed. Just keep working hard at it. But for most of us, we will need to work on that online store, like Shopify, Wix, whatever platform you want to use. Because of course, the next point is you need an online platform. Since you need an online platform to sell on in 2025, let's address the possibilities. The main, I would say, is local selling platforms like Facebook Marketplace, and then there's like worldwide marketplaces like eBay, and then your online store. So let's just talk about the easiest ones that I want to get out of the way is Facebook and eBay. Now the reasons why these I don't believe are ideal unless you're just starting out is because first, eBay problem, fees, and other problem, they can hold your money whenever the hell they want. If a buyer wants to open a case, your money held, and one day you can wake up and all your listings are striked and taken down, and you get warnings, restriction from selling too. This has happened to me, and eBay has put me through a lot. And if you watch the past videos, even I have a lot of grievance with eBay, but I can't lie, they built me up, and I made a lot of sales on eBay, and it's really taught me a lot, and I've grown a lot on eBay. But I really don't suggest you growing your business there. It's a great way to start, but you should grow your business on your own site. And also because eBay can just one day hold your money. They had $16,000 held from my payouts at one point because they've been holding it for over a month, and they just wouldn't release it. No matter whatever appeals I sent, I called in, it took forever to get it unreleased, which is why you shouldn't rely on someone else to handle your sales and money like eBay, especially when they had the power to just take it away and you're gone. And because they take a 10-20% fee depending on how much you advertise on it. And then the problem with Facebook. Facebook is honestly great, except the fact that it's not reliable at all. It's nearly impossible to build repeat customers, even harder than eBay, because they just, people just, half the people don't even respond to the second text, and it's hard to coordinate the times. You always have to be meeting them. People are always trying to negotiate. You got to take the hit on the sales tax, because ain't no one gonna come up to you like, hey, let me pay sales tax on top of your price. So you gotta calculate that into the price. And there's overall, the only really benefit is if you're just starting out, you're making some quick flips, you're getting good deals there, and you're just flipping it. And also because if you're just starting out, you're not paying taxes and you're not remitting taxes to the government, so it's fine. But of course, we do want to get to eventually our own store. Now, I would suggest Shopify, because I've tried Wix for a year, didn't work. I took a break from it, and then I started again with Shopify. And honestly, I feel like Shopify's platform, it's kind of harder to set up if you don't hire someone, because I built both the Wix and the Shopify by myself. And Shopify is definitely harder to set up, but with a lot of YouTube videos, you can definitely do it yourself if you're determined, or pay someone. But once you get a shop set up, I feel like Shopify is just easy because how big the company's gone. The interface is pretty smooth to use once you have the online store all set up and all the layouts, and there's a lot of features. But it's not really important what platform you use. But one of the biggest issues is that it does require you to have a distributor, because I've been selling for probably maybe half a year on Shopify, and then now they have finally requested me to upload documents of proof of that you're allowed to sell Pokemon cards, because not you can't just be selling counterfeit cards. So you guys provide like receipts from your distributor, and it has to be the official distributor, and then they hold your payouts, hold your listings until you provide all that. And so you can't just be like flipping stuff and then putting it on Shopify. So that's why technically there's no good options, because it's a really big wall unless you get a distributor. So this is what my roadmap goes so far. This is what I'm telling you guys. First, get that distributor. First, start with the flips, right? Go on eBay, go on Facebook, sell on both. Wherever you can make a profit, sell it and list it. You gotta do the hard work, get the grinds, get the listings up, because I struggle a lot being too lazy to put up, those tedious, like 100 listings. It's really tedious, but you gotta do it. Once you start getting more capital, then you're more attractive to the distributors, and then you can start this would be crazy, and I'll expand more of this in other videos, but you can dabble into Japanese cards if you're still waiting on trying to get in that distributor, if the market's still crazy. But besides that, once you're building capital, building up experience, you want to try and get the distributor and launch your online store, because you do get that small lead time in between where you're setting up the store and you're selling on the store before they require proof of documents. And you can use that at the same time to show the distributor you're an actual store, because you had that website, and then increase your chance of getting an account. You gotta keep being persistent with the distributors, and when you can finally get an account after 1 or 2 years, when the market has slowed down because the distributors now are more desperate for customers, they're opening it up, get that account, and you start selling on your website. And in the meantime, between that time you got that distributor account and have fully set up your site, you need to be starting your marketing wherever way you choose to go. And I'm suggesting social media. You go through that way, you start building an audience, start building trust with the community. And this is important, because once you have that experience with social media or whatever marketing way you choose, once your site's in full launch and you got the distributor account and you're able to buy as much as you need when the market is slow, you need to be able to move that product. And having that social media access, that reach, wherever marketing we got, mastering that will allow you to have those repeat customers already, and just set you up for way more success than starting from scratch and not running into cash flow problems, because that's often a problem when you're holding like $50,000-$60,000 worth of product as a new store, and you're taking in so much stuff that distributors forcing you to take, like battle decks and stuff. You need to have strategies to sell off this stuff, and you need to have loyal customers that will buy your booster box and not go to the store next door and buy that elite trainer box from you, not from Walmart. You can't just always be on price, because there's always someone that's going to be cheaper than you. That's why we need to use a way to build repeat customers and build a base of customers that trust you. And then last but not least, on top of all this is the roadmap. That's done. That's how you set yourself up for success. That's all you really need, plus a lot of hard work and dedication, packing those orders and making those listings, even on the dark days, even on the days you don't feel like it. Then the last part is just balance, because getting burnt out is pretty easy doing something as tedious as packing orders every day, making listings, because even though we love this hobby, even though it's fun to collect the cards, see the cards, and you will just sit there and be amazed at all this product you have. Once you have amassed enough, like I sit here and be like, wow, I have 9 Hidden Fates tins sitting there. That's cool as a collector, right? And as a business owner, you will feel proud. But there's still the days where you're sitting there packing, putting a Scarlet Violet base pack in an envelope, shipping it out, doing that 10 times over, and it gets boring. And you're gonna be in a basement, in a garage for 10 hours a day after you get home from work or whatever, and there's a lot of sacrifice, so you gotta make sure you don't get burnt out. You need to find a balance, and find a healthy balance, because even with the things we love, you can still get burnt out. And I'm not gonna lie, in the last 5 years I was really close to quitting in like 1 or 2 times, because especially in the slow times things got tough and you gotta pull money out of the places you didn't even know you could pull money from to pay the bills, to pay like the invoices. And it just really just not motivating at all. But you just gotta push through, because that's what it takes. And you you can't get burnt out from doing this, even though you will feel down at times. You just gotta keep pushing and make sure you have go do some exercise. That's the best way I can put it. Best advice I can get is, get that exercise in, because it's a great way to counteract the burnout. And have a solid hobby you can rely on, and spend time with your family. That's about it. So follow that roadmap and make sure you have balance in your life when starting your business, and you're set. Even with all the changes I think I've seen throughout the way of starting your own Pokemon card business, this is how to do it. This is how you scale to a 6-figure business in 2025. So yeah, if you guys have any more thoughts, let me know in the comments. Maybe you can teach me something, because I'm still on my journey. And hopefully if you're new, you learn something. Even if you have your own store, maybe you learn something. And yeah, subscribe if it's helpful. I'd love to see you guys in the next video and join the journey, and hopefully we all succeed. That's it for today. See you guys.